But right now, it's our pleasure to welcome in Jimmy O'Brien. If you follow him on Twitter, you know him as Jomboy, one of the biggest Yankee fans, the host of Talkin' Yanks, and a former mystery guest of the Moose and Maggie show. Jimmy, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thank you for having me.
Did I get everything in there? You have a lot of titles. You wear a lot of hats. Did I get it all?
Mystery guest is number one on the resume.
There you go. And you do I love your post game videos that you post, with libation in hand, Jimmy, as well, after Yankee playoff games, win or lose. They're must see on social media.
But I wonder, was it tough to do the breakdown of the Brasso home run? Because that one was up pretty quick off of Chapman. We know what a big Yankee fan you are. Was it hard to do that breakdown?
Well, yeah, it wasn't fun. I did it the day after. Last year when Altuve hit it, I made like a joke breakdown where I only read the sponsor and then I didn't talk at all, and then I read the sponsor at the end again. This one, it was a cool at bat, and I kind of wanted to go look at the pitches Gary called and what really happened, and Brasso was all over it. And even live time, I did have a kind of happiness for Brasso because, Chapman did throw his head, which I didn't think was fun or cool or anything that I stood behind. So heartbreaking loss. I guess I'm getting used to those. But I think it was that Brasso about was really cool, and I wanted to see the pitch sequencing, and I wanted to see how close the strikes actually were to being, or the missed calls or not missed calls. I don't think they were missed calls, but, Chapman throws a pitch he's only thrown 4 times in that at-bat, so that's kind of interesting. And then Brasso just was locked in. So It hurt, but there is still a baseball fan in me that was like, this is a crazy at-bat.
Now, Jimmy, what do you think the fallout is here for the Yankees this offseason? What retooling do you think Cashman needs to do?
Bullpen help would be good. I think maybe, let's make a trade next deadline. I think if you have a big whiteboard in spring training, I think utilize the trade deadline for the first time in 3 seasons would be nice. Would have been really cool to have Archie Bradley out there or another reliever to help. Because losing Canley's one thing, and then they completely abandoned Ottavino and lost trust in him. So, 3 relievers going into a postseason with no off days. And I know they didn't know the no off days at the trade deadline, but last year Zach Britton came out and said this does not work. Relievers cannot pitch every game, and starters go 5 innings. And they knew Paxton wasn't coming back. They knew they didn't have a lot of length in the starting pitching area. So I don't understand why they didn't make any moves for any relievers to try and help out there, or like a sub-tier starter that you can go put them into the bullpen. The Brewers did with Pomerantz last year. There's a lot of creative ways that they could have helped the pen, and a lot of cheap ways. And I know money's going to be tight for them after COVID, but I think Archie Bradley cost $200K. I think the Reds gave up $200,000 for him, and they get him for next year as well on arbitration salary. So let's utilize the trade deadline, and let's treat the regular season like it matters a bit more than they do.
Jimmy and Jimmy O'Brien is our guest. He's the founder of Jomboy Media. He's got the Talkin' Yanks podcast. And, I described it as there's always an urgency, of course, with the Yankees, but now it feels desperate. And I can't tell if that's actually just the fan base who feels desperate or if the Yankees themselves actually feel desperate. What do you think?
The urgency is only in the fans. And I know that the players, they're hurting and they don't want to lose and they lost. So the players might be showing urgency, but they haven't treated a regular season with urgency since Girardi. And I like Boone. I'm not trying to kill Boone or knock Boone, but I think they admitted to it after they beat Cleveland in one game 1. They all said, the regular season's just spring training. And it just really bothers me that they did flip the switch and it doesn't work. You cannot go. The batting order changes every single day. There's no consistency for these hitters at all. There's no routine. And then as soon as the postseason starts, your 1 through 7 is the same every single day. It's just
But it works for the Rays. Somehow it works for the Rays. They switch up their stuff all the time.
But they do that all season.
Right.
So what the Rays do in the playoffs, they do all season. The Yankees completely change their whole entire strategy.
It was watching your face. Sorry, I was watching your face, Jimmy, when you had the the video of when the camera cuts to Ford pinch hitting was as good of a performance as anything that I've seen in like M. Night Shyamalan or whatever Scream movie. You were genuinely terrified when the camera cut to you and then cut to Mike Ford. I mean, that was probably the lowest moment, one of the lowest moments of watching that game.
Oh man, it seems like it seems fake, but it's a little embarrassing. That was my genuine reaction. But I think that's the worst decision I've seen in Yankees baseball since I've been actively covering them in my recent memory. 1 inning left, 4 runs down, game on the line, season on the line, and you pinch hit Mike Ford, who hasn't had a hit since August. And I feel bad for Fordy. I hope he's not insulted by it, even though he probably is. It's nothing to do with him. They didn't give him the opportunities. He didn't earn the opportunities in the regular season. To put him in that position in the postseason is crazy. It's just insane.
Jimmy, the other thing, I mean, Glaber's not a shortstop. Square peg round hole. I don't look at. I know he's only 24. I don't think Gleyber Torres is an everyday shortstop with the limitations that he has defensively. I think he looked a lot more comfortable at second base, and I do think there's going to be a trickle-down effect. You got to bring LeMahieu back and sign him as a free agent this offseason, which could lead to you dealing off a Luke Voigt. They're very, very right-handed in that lineup as well, but the defense was an absolute sieve during the regular season. I mean, they were atrocious, and I've got reservations about whether or not Gleyber will ever adjust to that position on a day-in, day-out basis.
Yeah, I don't think I can disagree with anything you said there, unless they come out and say he was nursing an injury or something like that. I don't see it. I love Gleyber. I liked him at second base. I thought, I would like him at shortstop. Playing shortstop in the majors is hard. A lot of players come up as shortstops and move to another position because it's really hard to stick there defensively. Any play when he kind of does that cavalier backhand grab and then, the easy throw, I can picture it in my head right now. I was clenching every time. Routine plays, and it was clenching. Meanwhile, any ball hit to third, I just expect Gio to get, and I don't have a worry in the world. So Gleyber in this postseason did feel like Andujar at third. It did feel like every play we have to really dial in and okay, make the throw. Okay. And you shouldn't have to feel that way on routine plays. I don't know what they do. I'm a little worried that because they think he won't stay at short, they put that in there. Okay, if we don't re-sign DJ, if someone outbids and beats us, at least that makes our Gleyber decision easier, and it makes it a little easier for them to lose DJ. I'm hoping that doesn't seep into their brains there.
Yeah, I think the DJ's is still priority number one. I think more importantly, I think DJ still wants to be here. So, not saying that he would take some massive discount, but I do think that he wants to be here. Now, Jimmy O'Brien is our guest. Of course, you know him as Jomboy. Fantastic breakdowns, and they're live watching games, and it is just a lot of fun. What was, if you look back on it, it's hard in a global pandemic because the season, the way it got off to, it's a lot of it didn't feel right, the cardboard fans, stuff like that. But if you look back over this season, Jimmy, what do you think was the highlight? What was the high point, the high water mark, and the positive thing you'll take away from this year?
Nothing jumps to mind right away, which is a little bit concerning because I usually live in the positive area. The first thing that jumped to mind was the pinch hit grand slam from Gary Sanchez, but it's a tough year to have Gary be your highlight since he was such a low light the whole entire time.
See, I think it's Davey.
What's that?
I think it's Davey.
Davey's first start was really good.
Yeah.
That, I think, would probably be the highlight. If I were going to pick one in what was a very trying year, I think that would be the one for me.
Yeah, if you go to postseason, it's a little easier. I think I'd go with, the Gio Grand Slam versus Cleveland, or even the Higgy home run off of Snell was kind of things were going right for us that game. That was nice.
No,
Clint Frazier's whole season's a highlight. I mean, I think he really introduced himself as a professional, and his attitude was better. And I'm someone that got on him a lot, probably a little unfairly at times, but he won me over. It seemed like a completely different guy.
It certainly did, and he's got to be their everyday left fielder next year. What are your take, Jimmy, on Sanchez here? Do you think he's a lost cause in New York? Do you think he's back being part of the catching solution next year for the Yankees?
I think he's back because I don't think the Yankees are going to have much wiggle room here I don't think they're going to have a lot of money to spend after not being able to sell tickets for a full year. The Steinbrenners are a one-company family, basically. You know, the Yankees are their biggest earner, and they just lost out on that. So I think DJ's the priority. You're not going to be able to sign Real Muto. You're not going to be able to do all this and all that. I think your best bet is to hope that Gary can go back to his 2016 through the first half of 2019 when healthy. But, you know, the first month will loom large next year if that's the case. I expect him to be back and say, you know, he's our catcher. It was a rough stretch, but we believe in his ability and all that, and then we'll see what Gary does with that.
Would you bring Tanaka back?
Yes, but I love Tanaka, so I'm a little biased. It sucks that he didn't have the greatest postseason, but I kind of like adore Tanaka. Like, I love his mentality. I love the way he handles his business on the mound and off the mound. He's like always a good teammate with Sebi and all the young pitchers. So I have like a big soft spot for Tanaka, and it's crazy that he's been here for 7 years now. But I'd bring him back. But again, it seems like we're competing with maybe a Japanese team over there that are going to try and lure him back. And with the state of COVID and everything, maybe he wants to get the hell out of the U.S. So I'd attempt to bring him back on a somewhat reasonable deal. This guy's a superstar. Like, he is more famous in Japan than any baseball player is in America. He's like their god. So I don't see him going to a small market team that outbids the Yankees. Like, if the Reds try to get Tanaka, I don't see him being interested in that at all. So I think it's, you know, he's going to go back home or he stays in pinstripes.
In a fame-off between Tanaka and Ichiro Suzuki in Japan, I feel like that one would be really tight.
We had a guest that did a Japanese movie on baseball, and we had her on the show, and I asked if Ohtani, Ichiro, Matsui, and Tanaka all had tables lined up at a signing, whose line would be the longest? And she said it's Tanaka or Ohtani right now.
Whoa.
Wow.
Last one for you, and this is one I'm going to just ask you, plead for an investigation. We need a breakdown on what was going on with Walker Buehler's pants last night. See, the thing is about the pants, they were so incredibly tight, and I'm thinking like Lower East Side hipster if you didn't catch the game. I mean, they were painted on, and he was really defensive about it afterwards. I would have let it go, Jimmy, if he hadn't been so defensive about why his pants were so damn tight.
Well, he did. I like the attitude. You know, he's the guy that plays with Boxy, so he doesn't want to laugh or be jovial after losing a game at all, even though he pitched well. So I appreciate him saying not the time or place. I don't know. Maybe there's some cool backstory that we don't know about. Maybe the laundry department at Dallas is terrible, and he's legitimately mad at them. Maybe they shrunk his lucky pair of pants.
Jimmy,
maybe he had to borrow Kike Hernandez's. Who knows?
Well, maybe he's a guy that can pull off that look as well. He's very defensive. And I don't know. Jimmy, are Astro fans still coming after you?
Oh, every day. Every day.
They
won't stop.
Are you literally getting death threats?
Oh, yeah. There's some mean stuff that comes my way. They'll find my personal Instagram. They'll find my Facebook. And I know it's just a select few of crazy people, so... But it is terrible.
It's awful.
It's not something
That's awful.
I enjoy.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, their team cheated. I mean, you did nothing wrong. You just added a little. You gave, obviously the story broke, and you did a tremendous job of breaking down the video and showing how they did it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I had some fun, and I stayed looking for some things in a fun way. For me, I didn't. They see me as something I'm not, and like an accredited journalist. And I'm just an idiot who talks a lot into a microphone, and that became a company. I'm allowed to have fun with buzzer theories.
Jimmy O'Brien, Jomboy Media.
What
Jimmy,
an endorsement for Jomboy Media.
Thank
at the
you
end. Way to go.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a couple minutes this afternoon, buddy. We appreciate it, all right?
Thank you for having me.